Welcome back everyone. In today's session, I'm going to give you the line-by-line explanation of Macbeth Act 2, Scene 3, Knocking Within, Enter a Porter. Before starting the explanation, let me just discuss with you the dramatic significance of this scene. Dear girls and boys, you must learn the dramatic significance of each and every scene. So learn the dramatic significance, number 1, number 2, the setting, and number 3, who are the characters present. These are the basic things which you must know before writing your answers. So now, what is the dramatic significance? Act 2, Scene 3 serves as a transition from the tense atmosphere of the previous scene where Macbeth kills Duncan to the reactions of the characters to the murder. We have Macbeth's lack of self-control, we have Lady Macbeth's self-control and practical sense, and the porter's dark humor here highlights the sinister nature of the crime and hints at the chaos that will ensue. Now, this scene also demonstrates the theme of appearance versus reality, as Malcolm and Donalbain fear that there's daggers in men's smiles. The smiles of men hide their dangerous intentions. Therefore, appearance versus reality. And this indicates the danger of trusting appearances. We have this theme recurrent throughout the play, appearance versus reality. And their decision to flee contributes to the growing suspicions, setting the stage for Macbeth's rise to power. And the play's exploration of ambition, guilt, and the consequences of immoral actions. We have all these themes in this scene, and that is why Act 2, Scene 3 is so important. Prepare the answers well from this scene. Now, let's begin. Knocking within, enter a porter. Porter. Here's a knocking indeed. Now, who is a porter? Porter is a gatekeeper. Here the porter, drunk from the party given in honor of Duncan, comes to the gate at the noise of the knocking. And you will notice one thing, that his speech is slightly obscure. It is very difficult to find out the meaning of the speech. Why? Because of these reasons. Take down the notes. Number 1, he is drunk. Number 2, he speaks in a loose conversational style. And number 3, his speech contains a number of topical allusions which are not easily understood by the audience. However, if we remember that he pretends to be in charge of the gate of hell, here we will see that he pretends to be in charge of the gate of hell. He imagines himself to be the gatekeeper of hell because of his drunkenness. Then the audience will not have much difficulty in understanding most of his speech. These are important. Here's a knocking within. It is a violent knocking which would pull the gate off its hinges. So here's a knocking indeed. If a man were porter of hell gate, just as I told you, he should have all turning the key. If one were a gatekeeper to hell, this is the meaning. If a man were porter of hell gate, the porter does not know that he is actually a gatekeeper to hell. This is an example of unconscious irony. Here he just simply imagines himself to be the porter of hell gate, but indeed, Scotland, after the regicide, is in such a state that it can be compared to hell. And indeed, Macbeth's castle is hellish, and the gatekeeper, the porter, is the porter of hell gate. Therefore, there is unconscious irony in his words. He should have all turning the key, a lot of key turning, and therefore old means abundant, plentiful. The porter says that he would be kept pretty busy locking and unlocking the gate of hell. So there are so many sinners who are coming to hell. So he will be busy, really busy, all turning the key. Knocking within knocking, knock knock. Who's there in the name of Beelzebub? Who's Beelzebub now? A Philistine god. In the New Testament, he is described as the prince of devils. And who is the first sinner to enter hell? Here's a farmer, number one, farmer that hanged himself, his crime, his sin, that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. The farmer hanged himself because his crop failed. He had expected a good harvest and he feared that this would bring down the prices after the failure of his crops. In 1606, there was an exceptionally abundant harvest which led to a steep fall in prices of corn. This is the historical context. According to the potter, the farmer will be adequately punished for what he has done. Therefore, he will sweat for it and therefore must prepare his napkins. What is the meaning of this entire section? Let us now quickly go through this again. What a loud knocking indeed. If a man were potter of Hellgate, he would grow old, turning the key to let people into hell. He would always be busy locking and unlocking the hell gate. Again, he hears knocking. Yes, go on knocking in the name of Beelzebub, who is there that knocks so loudly. And the first one that comes in, here comes a farmer who anticipated a full harvest and hanged himself when the crops failed. You have come at a good time, farmer. I hope you have an adequate supply of handkerchiefs with you, for the sweltering heat of hell will make you sweat profusely. Again he hears knocking. Who comes in here now? Who is the second person? Knocking within knock. Knock. Who's there in the other devil's name? Faith hears an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. The potter cannot remember the name of another devil. And then he swears by his faith in God. He talks about the equivocator. Who is an equivocator? A person who evades truth by using words with more than one meaning. Here the reference is to Henry Garnet, superior to the Jesuits in England, who was tried in March 1606 for his complicity, for being an accomplice in the gunpowder plot of 1605. Garnet first said one thing and then another exactly opposite to it, although he had promised to speak the truth. Here, the word has a veiled reference to Macbeth, who equivocates later in this scene. Keep this in mind. Now, the equivocator swore that he spoke the truth in both the scales of justice. That is, he spoke both for and against the matter and claimed that he was speaking the truth both times. Who committed treason enough, who betrayed his country for God's sake, for the sake of his religion. The reference once again here is to the gunpowder plot. When the Jesuits could not persuade James I to change certain laws against them, they hatched a conspiracy to blow up the House of Parliament on a day when both King James and the Prince of Wales were expected to be present in the house. And the equivocator, he committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Why? Since he had played with words, he was not sent to heaven, but he was sent to hell. Garnet was also hanged, and the potter imagines that he is admitting him to hell. Oh, come in, equivocator. Knocking within knock, third time. Knock, knock, who's there? Faith. Here's an English tailor, the third person, the third sinner. come hither, come here, for stealing out of a French hose. There is meant to be a double allusion here. Number one, it is a hit at tailors who stole a part of the cloth given to them by customers for making garments. Number one. And number two, it is an ironic fling at the contemporary English vice of imitating foreign fashions in dress. What is French hose? Write down. There were two kinds of French hose, knee breeches, one made very long and full and the other very light and short. It was easy to pilfer cloth from the first kind of hose. Later, the tailors started cheating their customers in lace too. Coming tailor, here you may roast your goose. Here you may heat your smoothing iron. Here you will be adequately punished for your thefts. Number one, meaning, and number two, the tailor's iron is called goose since its handle is like the neck of a goose. Knocking within. Knock knock, never at quiet. At peace, never at peace in hell. So many sinners coming in, and I will have to lock and unlock the door multiple times. What are you? Now who are you? But this place is too cold for hell. He realizes that he will no longer play the part of the porter of Hell Gate and that the place where he is standing is so cold that it cannot be hell. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. He wanted to let into hell some people belonging to all professions who follow the path of comfort and luxury, primrose way, in their life and then go to hell where the fire burns eternally, everlasting bonfire. Again, write down the meaning of, try to understand the meaning of these two lines. He had thought of admitting in some representatives of all professions that follow the pleasant path of vice, comfort, luxury, wickedness that leads to hell, and primrose way, the path of pleasure, which one may think to be lined with flowers, everlasting bonfire, the eternal fire of hell. Knocking within, anon, I pray you, remember the porter. Don't forget to give some money to the porter for opening the gate. By this time, the porter has reached the gate. Opens the gate. Who enters? Enter Macduff and Lennox. Was it so late, friend? Or you went to bed? That you do lie so late, friend. Did you go to bed very late last night that you are in bed so late in the morning? Porter, faith, sir. We were carousing till the second clock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of three things. Indeed, sir, we kept drinking and merrymaking till about 3 o'clock in the morning, when the cock crowed for the second time, and drinking, sir, is a great provoker of three things: carousing, drinking, and merry-making. Until the second cock, it is, the time of the second cock was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Macduff, what three things does drink specially provoke? Porter, marry, sir, nose painting. Marry by the Virgin Mary. Nose painting, a drunkard's nose goes red. Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep and urine. It provokes nose painting, it provokes good sleep and also urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. Lechery both provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Excessive drinking provokes sexual desire, but mars the capacity to indulge in the sexual act. This is the meaning of lechery. Thus, drinking may be said to be an equivocator with respect to lechery. It makes him and it mars him. It produces lechery, it arouses sexual desire, and it also unmakes him. Drinking arouses a man sexually but weakens his ability at the same time, and caught in this embarrassing situation, the man ultimately goes to sleep. It sets him on and it takes him off. It persuades him and disheartens him, makes him stand to and not stand to, in conclusion equivocates him in a sleep, and giving him the lie leaves him. It appears that drinking has knocked you down. Macduff says, I believe drink gave thee the lie last night. You are drunk. That it did, sir, in the very throat on me, but I requited him for his lie, and I think, being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometime, yet I made a shift to cast him. The porter thinks that lie means untruth. He is reminded of another expression, you lie in your throat, at the very time of speaking. The line means drinking lied to me in the very throat, but I repaid him. I repaid the drink for his lie. Now, the porter's mind turns to knocking down and fighting, and he imagines himself fighting drunkenness. It took up my legs once or twice, but I managed to throw it off. So here, he imagines himself fighting drunkenness and made a shift, managed. Cast, what is the meaning? Number 1, throw in wrestling, and number 2, vomit. Macduff. Is thy master stirring? Enter Macbeth. Our knocking has awaked him. Here he comes. Lennox, good morrow, noble sir. So it is morning. After this, I'll just turn the page very quickly. Macbeth, good morrow, both of you, good morrow, good morning. Macduff. Is the king stirring, worthy Thane? Macbeth. Not yet. He did command me to call timely on him. The meaning of timely, early. I have almost slipped the hour. I am late. I have almost let the time arranged for calling him go by. I'll bring you to him. I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet it is one. I'm disturbing you, but it is a joyful trouble for you. The labor we delight in physics pain. This is the door. I am afraid I am troubling you, but I know you don't mind it, Macbeth. And Macbeth says, if we take delight in some work, it makes us forget all the troubles. Look how Macbeth is pretending to be normal. Appearance versus reality. He is putting up a pretense over here. He is not telling anybody about how he committed regicide. Now, this is the door to the king's bedchamber, and it is the time for the discovery of regicide. The atmosphere is tense. The audience know it. The characters on stage do not. Macduff is unaware of regicide. The labor we delight in physics pain. The labor in which we take delight relieves us of any unpleasantness caused by it, and physics cures. This is the door. The door that leads to Duncan's chamber. I'll make so bold to call, for it is my limited service. Exit. The door that leads to Duncan's chamber, and Macduff will be so bold as to call, for it is the duty allotted to him by King Duncan. Limited service. Now, Macbeth has offered to take Macduff to the king so as to ensure that the murder of Duncan is discovered in his own presence. This he feels would help to shift the suspicion elsewhere. Macduff, however, has declined the offer either because he is reluctant to give Macbeth any trouble, or because he has orders to wait on the king alone. Goes the king hence tonight? Lennox's speech is very, very important. Learn this properly. The night has been unruly, stormy. Where we lay and the place where we went sleeping, our chimneys were blown down, and as they say, lamentings heard in the air. Lamentings heard in the air. The atmosphere was full of wailing sounds, strange screams of death, shrieks of terror as if uttered by dying persons, and prophesying with accents terrible. What is the meaning? Predicting terrible social calamities in voices that would strike terror in the hearts of all those who heard them. Regicide will have dire consequences. Of dire combustion. What is the meaning of combustion? Social calamities, and dire is terrible. Calamities, social calamities, disturbances as a result of regicide. With accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events, new hatched to the woeful time. Moral anarchy, reflected in nature as well, prophesied by nature. The obscure bird clamored, the livelong day, the livelong night, some say the earth was feverish and did shake. The meaning of new hatched, just born, woeful time, sad, unfortunate age, the obscured bird, the bird of darkness, the owl, symbol of ill omen, clamored, hooted, wailed, the livelong night, throughout the night, and the earth did shake, the earth shook like a man stricken with ague. This is the meaning. Now, the ominous happenings mentioned by Lennox create an appropriate background for the outrageous murder of Duncan. Similar events take place on the night before Julius Caesar is murdered. Here you have intertextuality, assassination of Julius Caesar and the moral anarchy reflected in nature. Here also the regicide of King Duncan and nature gives us direct hints of the reversal of the moral order. Now, there is a manifestation of demonic power. There is a manifestation of demonic power over the elements of nature. As the drunken porter feels, Macbeth's castle is literally the mouth of hell through which evil spirits emerge in this darkness to cause upheavals in nature. I hope you remember that in the beginning of our session, I had mentioned this. Macbeth's castle is hellish. This section is important. The last night was a very stormy one. The chimneys of the rooms where we slept were blown away. It is reported that strange wailing sounds and the cries of the dead were heard in the air. These sounds seem to be prophecies of great trouble to come, of fires and disorders, of various other calamities. The owl, the bird of darkness, kept shrieking the whole night. Some people say that the earth shook as if it were suffering from some fever. What is the reaction of this? What is the reply of Macbeth here? Just notice. Macbeth, it was a rough night. It was a very wild night. Observe how Macbeth is putting up a pretense over here. Appearance versus reality. Very important. My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it. The memory of a young man like myself cannot recall anything compared to the events of this night. Regicide is a sin. The king was considered to be the representative of God on earth. So, by committing regicide, Lady Macbeth committed sin, resulting in complete reversal of the moral order. Re-enter Macduff. Macduff, oh horror, horror, horror! Tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee. It is horrible, very horrible. What has happened is beyond the tongue to speak and the head to imagine. Lennox is worried. What's the matter? Macbeth pretends to be worried. What's the matter? Important. Macduff, confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Destruction has now reached its climax. Masterpiece means climax. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope the Lord's anointed temple and stole thence the life of the building. The sacred body of our anointed king has been cut open by the most profane hands of a murderer, and his life has been stolen away from his body. Again, very important section. What is the meaning of tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee? Try to understand this. Neither tongue can name nor heart can conceive the horror what I have seen, thereby referring to the enormity of this crime, the heinous crime, the ugly nature of the crime. Confucian now hath made his masterpiece. Confucian has achieved his deadliest work. It is quite appropriate to describe the murder of the king as a masterpiece of Confucian, for order and the rule of law as embodied in his person have been destroyed. The result of regicide now. Breakdown of the social order. And the Scottish people will now have to pay the price of this. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke ope. The Lord's anointed temple. What is the meaning? The king's body, symbolic of law and order, is a temple anointed by God. The king was a representative of God on earth. The murder hence has broken open this temple and thus committed a sacrilegious crime, a sin, sacrilege, the crime of treating a sacred person or thing with disrespect, impious. The Lord's anointed temple, the sacred body of the king. At the coronation ceremony, Christian kings are anointed with holy oil, and stole thence the life of the building, and stolen the soul which animated the body. Macbeth, what is it you say? The life, he's dead. Again, pretense of Macbeth. This shows the hypocrisy of Macbeth. He has turned into a hard-hearted criminal. Lennox, mean you his majesty? They are surprised. Mean you his majesty? Do you mean to say that King Duncan has been murdered? Another thing to notice over here, Macbeth has by now overcome the shock of the murder. His lack of self-control, remember, in Act 2, Scene 2, here he has overcome the shock of the murder and is able to play his part with perfect hypocrisy. Here he pretends not to have understood Macduff's metaphorical language. What is it you say? The life. He's understanding nothing. He's so innocent. But we know the innocent Macbeth is gone. Mean you his majesty? Approach the chamber. Now come, look for yourself. Destroy your sight. The sight is so heinous. The sight is so gory that it will destroy your sight, blind your eyes. Macduff means to say that anyone who sees this horrible scene will be affected so deeply that he will not be able to see again with a new Gorgon. The Gorgons were hideous monsters with golden wings, brazen claws and enormous teeth. They wore girdles of snake. Their hair was also wreathed with snakes. Here the reference is to Medusa. She was once a beautiful girl, but Athena changed her into a terrible monster. Anyone who looked at her was blinded and turned to stone. Similarly, one who will look at the body of King Duncan, one who will be a witness of this heinous crime, will turn blind, just like anyone who looked at Medusa turned to stone. So here we have another allusion. Exeunt Macbeth and Lennox. Awake, awake, ring the alarm bell, murder and treason. What is the meaning of alarm bell? The bell rung as a signal of danger in order to arouse the household. Now, before this, I missed this section. Do not bid me speak, see, and then speak yourselves. Do not ask me to describe the horrible details. Go and have a look. Awake, awake, ring the alarm bell, murder and treason. Banquo, Antonalben, Malcolm awake, shake off this downy sleep, death's counterfeit, and look on death itself, up, see the great doom's image. Sleep is a false image of death. If they shake it off, they can look on the actual representation of death, that is, the regicide of King Duncan. The great doom's image, the image of the last judgment after death. Malcolm, Banquo, as from your graves rise up and walk like sprites to countenance this horror, ring the bell. Wake up, cast off this safe and luxurious sleep, which is only a picture of death, and look upon death itself. Wake up and see the very image of destruction. Malcolm, Banquo, rise as if from your grave like ghosts and walk the earth so that you may be able to look upon this horrible spectacle. And then the bell rings. Enter Lady Macbeth. What's the business? What's the matter that such a hideous trumpet calls to parley? The sleepers of the house, speak. What is the matter that such a terrible trumpet calls to meeting the sleepers of the house? Lady Macbeth compares the bell with a trumpet such as it is used in the battlefield to call people together, and parley, conference. Macduff, oh gentle lady, it is not for you to hear what I can speak. The reputation in a woman's ear would murder as it fell. Reputation, recital, narration. The narration of the murder would kill her as she heard it. A very ironic remark, since Lady Macbeth had felt that she was even capable of committing the murder. Unlike other women, she is not at all weak. This shows the complete ignorance of Macduff. He does not know the role played by Lady Macbeth in hatching the conspiracy against Duncan. Oh, gentle lady, indeed. Is she gentle? Well, the audience knows she is not at all gentle. She has unsexed herself. It is not for you to hear what I can speak. The reputation in a woman's ear would murder as it fell. Enter Banquo. Important. Oh, Banquo, a royal master's murdered. Lady Macbeth, woe alas, what in our house? She is pretending just like Macbeth. Reactions of Lady Macbeth and Macbeth after the discovery of regicide. Very important. Too cruel anywhere, dear Duff, I prithee, contradict thyself and say it is not so. You are not telling the truth. Lady Macbeth blunders with her words over here. Woe alas, what in our house? She seems to be concerned not about the murder of King, but because it has taken place in their castle and her husband may be implicated. Too cruel anywhere. Banquo immediately detects the false ring in Lady Macbeth's voice. He subtly reproves her by saying that this murder would have been cruel wherever it might have been committed. Regicide is regicide. Your king is dead, and that is the most important thing, even if he is killed over here or anywhere. Dear Duff, here Duff, Macduff, and Mac is a prefix, meaning son of. Contradict thyself. Say that whatever you have said is wrong. Re-enter Macbeth, Lennox with Ross. There is a sense of urgency over here. People are rushing here and there. Macbeth. Had I but died an hour before this chance, if I had died an hour before this murder was committed, I would have died happily. I had lived a blessed time, for from this instant there is nothing serious in mortality. There is nothing worthy in human life. All is but toys. Very important. Learn this section. Very, very important for your give reason, for MCQ. Then role of Macbeth. Reaction of Macbeth after the discovery of regicide. You will have to use quotations from here. All is but toys. And the entire section highlights the pretense of Macbeth, the hypocrisy, the hollowness of Macbeth. All is but toys, renown and grace is dead. Renown and grace is dead. The famous and virtuous Duncan is dead. Number 1. And number 2, fame and virtue have become meaningless. The wine of life is drawn and the mere lees is left this vault to brag of. This metaphor means that the wine of life has been taken away and only the dregs are left for this vault to boast of. Wine of life, spirit, joy of life, vault, world. This speech is meant to deceive, but it utters at the same time Macbeth's profoundest feelings. Macbeth was unconscious, perhaps, of the truth of his words. The irony, however, is appalling over here, for Macbeth must be conscious of the importance of the words that come from him. He intends the monstrous hypocrisy of a conventional lament for Duncan. He is showing that he is so sad. He is lamenting, he is mourning, he is in deep mourning. This shows the monstrous hypocrisy of this lament for Duncan. But as the words leave his lips, they change their nature and become a doom upon himself only. He has become the instrument of the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Enter Malcolm and Donalbain. Donalbain, what is amiss? What is wrong? In reply, Macbeth tells Donalbain that he himself is amiss, that is, not in a state of well-being, although he is not aware of it. You are and do not know it. The spring, the head, the fountain of your blood, your father, is stopped. The very source of it is stopped. So, the spring, the head, the fountain all suggest origin, source, particularly the source of water. The very fountain head of Donalbain's life, that is, his father, has been stopped. Again, we have a metaphor over here. Donalbain comes to know, your royal father's murdered. Oh, by whom? Those of his chamber, the chamberlains. The guilt is now laid on the blame is on the two drunken bodyguards, attendants. Those of his chamber, as it seemed, had done it. Their hands and faces were and badged with blood. According to plan, everything is going according to plan. The grooms guarding Duncan's chamber, they are stained with blood. So were their daggers, which unwiped we found upon their pillows. They stared and were distracted, amazed, confused. No man's life was to be trusted with them. No man's life could be safe with them. According to plan. Perhaps a perfect crime. Macbeth, but yet I do repent me of my fury, that I did kill them. Yet I am sorry that I killed them in a fit of indignation. Very, very important. What happened here? I regret that in my fury I killed them. It appears that the groom sleeping in his chamber had murdered King Duncan. Their hands and faces were all smeared with blood. So were their daggers, which lay unwashed upon their pillows. And when they looked at them, they vacantly gazed at us and appeared to be wild. No man could be safe with them. And Macbeth again commits a crime. In order to remove any physical evidence, he kills the two attendants. A very wise move on the part of the murderer. Others do not know. They think that the grooms murdered King Duncan. But Macbeth, just notice how he has changed into a hardened criminal. Macduff, he is not vacillating over here also. He just went and killed the two to remove any witness, to eliminate all witness. Wherefore did you so? Why did you do so? Why did you kill them? Macbeth, who can be wise, amazed, temperate, and furious? Wise, amazed, cautious, and confused, temperate, and furious, self-restrained as well as angry. So can you expect a man to be wise and fierce, restrained and violent, loyal and impartial at the same time, loyal and neutral in a moment? No, man. The expedition, my violent love, outrun, the pauser, reason. This again smacks of his hypocrisy. Very important. My reason, which could have checked me, was outstripped by the intensity of my devotion for the king and made me kill the attendants. I love King Duncan so much. I am so faithful to him that I could hardly control my anger, my reason, by good reason, and I went and I killed them. Macbeth means to say that he was first dazed and then emerged to see the murdered king and the blood-stained grooms. It was not possible for him to control his anger. He could not remain both loyal to the king and impartial at the same time. He had to take revenge. He, therefore, did what instinctively came to him. But this is not mere instinct. This is well planned. This move is well planned. Nobody would have acted otherwise than what he did. Expedition, speed, and violent love. What is the meaning of violent? Intense, passionate, outrun, overtook, was too quick for. The pauser, reason. Reason which could have delayed the action. Before my reason could consider what was most appropriate to do in this situation, I was overcome by my intense love for the king, and in that fit of provocation, I killed the grooms. Falsehood. Total falsehood. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature. Who killed him? Macbeth killed him. Again, notice the lies that Macbeth tells. Hypocrisy. Appearance versus reality. Silver skin, what is the meaning? Silver white and laced, marked with a pattern like lace, golden blood. The skin of Duncan is silver in contrast to the gold of his blood. Gashed stabs, gaping wounds caused by the daggers, and breach in nature, an unnatural opening in the body. On one side, I could see the dead body of Duncan, his fair skin stained with blood like lace, and his gaping wounds looked like openings made in the body for death to enter and play havoc to it. For ruined, wasteful entrance there, the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers, unmannerly breached with gore, blood. Their daggers horribly covered with blood and breached with gore, wearing breeches made of blood. Unmannerly, improperly. Proper trousers for the daggers are sheaths. Here they are wearing trousers of blood. Hence they have acted in an unmannerly fashion. So, who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make loves known? Do you think that anyone who had a heart to love and the courage to make his love known could check himself from murdering the attendants? I went and I killed them. Help me hence. She is also pretending to be a weak woman who is aghast, who is amazed to see such heinous crime. Look to the lady, attend upon lady. Donalbain, Malcolm, aside to Donalbain, why do we hold our tongues? That most may claim this argument for us. Donalbain, aside to Malcolm, what should be spoken here? Where our fate hid in an auger hole may rush and seize us. Let's away, our tears are not yet brewed. Being the sons of Duncan, it is we who are most closely touched by this matter, the death of King Duncan, then why do we remain silent? Argument, subject matter for us, concerning us. Auger hole, a very small hole. The auger is the carpenter's tool for boring holes in wood. Let us run away. This is Donald Ben's plan to run away from there to save themselves. He knows in fact that their lives are in danger. Malcolm and Donald Ben are the successors of King Duncan. But according to the prophecy of the witches, Macbeth will become the king of Scotland. Naturally, we can understand from here that their lives too are in danger. Aside to Donald Ben, nor a strong sorrow upon the foot of motion. It is not time yet to shed our tears. Malcolm and Donald Ben feel their sorrow, but they also realize that this is not the place to show it. Macbeth's castle is not at all safe for them, for some of the sorrow expressed seems to be false. Very important. They have an idea. Banquo, look to the lady. Lady Macbeth is carried out. And when we have our naked frailties hid, when we have dressed ourselves properly that suffer in exposure so that our bodies are not exposed to chilly air, let us meet again and question this most bloody piece of work and thoroughly investigate who has committed this murder. To know it further, fears and scruples shake us. At present, we are thoroughly shaken by fears and doubts. In the great hand of God I stand. I have great faith in God, and thence against the undivulged pretense I fight of treasonous malice. Very important. I have great faith in God. Banquo has great faith in God, and though the treacherous plans of the murderers are yet unknown, I am determined to discover and fight them. Macduff, and so do I. I am also ready to fight the traitors. Very, very important. I commit myself to the protection of God. And then, what will he do? Banquo plans to fight against traitors, but he does nothing. So all of them take the same oath. Macbeth. Let's briefly put on manly readiness and meet in the hall together. According to Macbeth, they must quickly put on their clothes and assemble in the hall. Macbeth is continuing to fake his emotions. Well contented. Yes, we will do that. Exeunt all but Malcolm and Donald Ben. What will you do? Let's not consort with them. Again, very important. Let us not associate with them. To show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easy. I will go to England. What is his plan? It is easy for a hypocrite to feign false sorrow, and therefore he decides to go to England. Where will Malcolm go? He will go to England. MCQ. Let us not be associated with them. It is very easy for a traitor to pretend the sorrow utterly unfelt by him. Hence I will go to England. Donald Ben will go to Ireland. A separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. It will be safer for us to remain separated like this. Where we are, there is treachery even in the smiles of men. Where we are, Macbeth's castle in Scotland, their daggers in men's smiles. The near in blood, the nearer bloody. The closer one is to a murdered person in blood, the nearer one is to a fate which may be bloody. The nearer to us in blood, the more likely to prove bloodthirsty. Malcolm, this murderer's shaft, that's shot, hath not yet lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Very important. This murderer's arrow that has been shot has not yet reached its final mark. So the murderer will not stop here. He will continue. The murderer's arrow has not yet lighted on us. Therefore, to horse, let us run away from here, and let us not be dainty of leave-taking. The arrow that has shot Duncan dead is still in the air, and they being next to the king's successors is likely to hit them next. To horse, let us ride our horses and run away. Malcolm and Donalbain fly for their safety, but their flight diverts suspicion from Macbeth to themselves and leaves him free to claim the throne. But shift away, there's warrant in that theft which steals itself when there's no mercy left. Let us not be particular about saying a formal goodbye. Let us steal away at once. When there is no mercy left for one, going away stealthily is quite justified. And what is the meaning of warrant in? Justification in, and which steals itself, in which one steals only oneself away without affecting others' property. This is the plan of Malcolm and Donalbain. Let us mount our horses and ride away. There is absolutely no need of any formal leave-taking. Let us just leave that place. When there is no mercy left in the people around, it is justified to steal away like this. Malcolm and Donalbain, they suspect Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. This is significant and exeunt.